Welcome to our webinar, Tuition, Financial Aid, Scholarships, and Military Benefits. We are excited to have all of you joining us today. My name is Christine Self with Parent and Family Relations, and joining me today are Brooks Gustafson from Student Financial Aid and Scholarships, Connie Brown from Student Business Services, and Sarah Carrillo from the Military and Veterans Program. This webinar is part of our Red Raider Family webinar series, where we share information on topics of interest to parents, families, and supporters of our students. We hope this webinar will help you better understand some of the financial support resources available to your students here at Texas Tech. As you can see on the screen, we have some upcoming webinars on topics like health and well-being, campus safety, academic success resources, and living on campus planned this summer. So we hope you'll join us for those as well. We plan to keep this webinar to about 30 minutes or so. If there's time at the end, we'll open it up for questions using the Zoom Q&A feature. But in the meantime, feel free to type your questions throughout the presentations. We have some folks working behind the scenes to get those questions answered for you. We are recording this session and posting it to our website so that you'll be able to review it again later or share it with others. We'll also email the recording link to the email you used when you registered for the webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brooks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brooks Gustafson with Financial Aid and Scholarships. So financial aid all starts with the FAFSA or the TASFA. So how you apply for financial aid as a student, or how your students will apply for financial aid here at Tech. So the FAFSA or the TASFA usually open October 1st this year for our incoming first-year students in the fall. The FAFSA was delayed. So the state priority deadline is usually January 15th. It should probably be back to January 15th for your student's second year. This year, that date was moved back to April 15th with all the delays. But again, it should be back to October 1st this upcoming year for their second year. Funding is limited and priority is given to our early applicants. So please make sure you get it in by our state priority deadline. We'll send plenty of emails out to your students, so make sure that they have that their Texas Tech email addresses on their phones and are checking that regularly. The FAFSA is for U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens. The TASFA is for non-U.S. citizens who are Texas residents. And then those two applications will use parents' tax information from 2 years prior. So because it uses 2-year prior tax information, there's a lot that can change in those 2 years from when you filed those taxes to when your students start here at Texas Tech. So if your situation has changed, this is something we did a lot of around COVID because of all the different things that came with that. But if your situation has changed financially, please submit a special circumstance form. You can find it on our financial aid website. That special circumstances form will allow us to edit the FAFSA from what it was 2 years ago, your financial picture from what it was 2 years ago to what it actually is now. So loss of employment for the student or the parent, separation or divorce within the household, loss of child support, medical, death of a spouse or parent, or deduction of a one-time payment. That last one is like if you retire, cash out a 401k, you're actually not going to cash that out each year. So just with proper documentation, we can edit the FAFSA down to what the financial aid picture is, or what the financial picture is now, rather than what it was 2 years ago when you filed those taxes. So how do your students apply for scholarships? They all applied for every scholarship on campus when they applied to Texas Tech. Within their admissions application, either Common App or Apply Texas, there's like 8 or 10 questions at the very end of their application that are scholarship questions. So anything through the university, which is our office, anything through your student's college or their department. They all have scholarships to award. Your students have applied to all of those. For future years, they apply to every scholarship on campus through the continuing student application. We will send out emails reminding them to do this. The best time to do this is over winter break. You're home for over winter break. You can knock out the FAFSA, complete the scholarship application, and get everything you need to done for the following school year. Other opportunities are anything through your college, your departments, or they will send out some on Tech Announce. There are plenty of external scholarship applications through through their high school organizations, teams, clubs, local Rotary clubs. If students are working jobs, I know places like Starbucks and HEB and those places have scholarships for students. And then parents, ask your employers if they have scholarship opportunities, because they probably do. So competitive scholarships. So for all of our non-Texas resident parents that are here, if your students get $1,000 competitive scholarship through the university, then they get a waiver that covers the difference between in-state and out-of-state tuition. The difference in that is roughly about $12,000. So $1,000 scholarship is worth about 13 to our non-Texas residents. You Texas residents, you don't get charged on resident tuition, so nothing you need to worry about there. But most of our university competitive scholarships have been awarded. When your students come for orientation, they're talking to their colleges and the departments. They can ask about what scholarships they have and what they have left to award. But we have awarded the majority of what we have for 24-25. And also make sure your students, if necessary, they complete a thank you letter on their RadarLink account. They'll get emails reminding them to knock that out. So if your student has done the FAFSA, they should have been offered some federal direct student loans. If they don't need these amounts, they don't have to accept them. They're just offered in case you need them. The amounts will depend on what their classification is, but it could be a combination of subsidized and unsubsidized loans. So subsidized means that you or your students are not charged any interest on those loans after they pay to their student account. Unsubsidized, think unhappy. Those do accrue interest while your students are in school. Again, if you don't need these, then they don't have to be accepted. But the repayment on these is not going to start until 6 months after their last day of school. So 4 years of school, graduation, they have a 6-month grace period following the end of school before those payments start on these two, if they do accept. Additional loan funds, so between scholarships, grants, and those federal loans, if there are additional costs that needs to be covered, there are a lot of different loan options out there. For students, the college access loan is through the state of Texas. The students take that out in their name, and then parents or anyone 21 or older with regular income can co-sign on that. For parents, the federal direct plus loan, or otherwise known as the parent plus loan, the interest rate on that one is can be a little scary. So make sure if the parent plus loan is your only option, you're just borrowing what you need to pay the bill rather than the max amount that it's going to let you borrow. Those up to cost of attendance parent plus loans are usually where the loan scary stories that you hear, the loan debt scary stories after graduation comes. So and then each students and parents both have private education loan options out there. Those are your Sallie Mae's and SoFi's and all those different lenders. You can explore the different options on our financial aid website, or come talk to us at orientation. Student employment, simple as that. The jobs that your students are working while they're on campus, if they would like to do that. That QR code or that link there will have all of our student employment jobs, all of our jobs on campus posted. There will be some posted right now. Most of them will turn over at the beginning of August. So all the kids that are working those summer jobs when they're turn over for the fall and spring. So there are some listed there now, but the majority of them will be posted in early August. You can get on there and compare wages on or off campus jobs. Most of them are going to be on campus. And parents, we're not going to overwork your students if they do get a job on campus. They are capped at 20 hours a week federally. We can't work them any more than that. So if they do want a job on campus, there's some money to be made and put in your student's pocket to pay for some of those expenses outside of the bill. Check for additional requirements. So if your students do have additional requirements, they should get an email. I think it's every other day from us, reminding them to do whatever it is that they need to do. So it comes straight to them. It says, hey, follow these links or follow these steps to get to your account and see what additional requirements you have. They send those every other day. So if there are any requirements out there, edits to the FAFSA, thank you letters, there's a lot of different things that could be done. But if they need to do that, then that gets emailed straight to their Texas Tech email address. All of your students have a financial aid advisor. So you can scan this QR code or there's an email address on the next slide that we'll talk about. They have a person that is specific to them. So any questions that they have will be their advisor for as long as they're a student here. It's in their Raider Connect portal or their Success Hub when they get here to Tech. Go to that next slide, please. That FinAid advisor at ttu.edu email address. If they send it to there, then that email address forwards it out to the person that they belong to. So their advisor will always be getting their information. You can call that phone number down there or email that finaid.advisor email address to get to your advisor. Once your students are on campus, they can come see us at our walk-up counter, 301 West Hall. We share that with Student Business Services. They can come and talk to us. This summer, when you come to orientation with your students, we will have one-on-one appointments. So no need to go to our walk-up counter this summer when you're here for orientation. There is about a 4-hour block of time during the orientation session where you can sit down with an advisor and go over everything, like what your bill is going to look like and how much aid you're going to have and what your other options are to cover the remaining bill. So with that being said, thank you for listening in today and come see us at orientation. Oh, yes. And our talking points. Sorry. So make sure you and your students have done the FAFSA or the TASFA. Make sure you have viewed the financial aid package for 24-25. You should get a letter and an email about what that's going to look like and then how it compares to your direct costs. And then make sure you know who your financial aid advisor is. For future years, make sure your students have completed the FAFSA each year and make sure they've completed those continuing student scholarship applications. Our Alumni Association and our Parent Association both have scholarship applications that you can fill out. They're open about the same time as our continuing student application. So thank you.
Hello, my name's Connie Brown. I work with Student Business Services, and I have some pointers for you today. This is probably the most important one. You're wondering, when do we have to pay? It's not when you come to orientation. You don't have to worry about the payment until August 19th. And at that point, students should be paid in full, enrolled in a payment plan, or having a financial aid awarded to cover 95% of their tuition and fees. Okay. These are some things business-wise that the students need to take care of. First of all, they need to complete their financial responsibility agreement, and that automatically populates when they log into RaiderLink, and they can't get farther than logging in until they accept this. This is just an agreement that they know they have to pay their bill. There's also the agreement for global electronic consent that populates that they'll need to agree to. That allows us to make available things like the 1098-T, which parents you'll be interested in during tax time. We can't stress enough how important it is for your students to check their TTU email daily. I know on their phone, they're checking things all the time, so that email needs to be one of them. They can also sign up for My Direct Deposit. That way, if they're expecting a refund from their financial aid, that money can go straight into the bank account they want it to go to, or you parents can have that refund go into the bank account of your choice. This one is very important. They need to set up an authorized user in their e-bill, which usually is a parent. It could be someone else, but whoever is going to take care of that bill needs to be set up as an authorized user. Then the last one on here, the FERPA, that is important so that we can talk to you about your student's bill. These two things, authorized user and FERPA, are not the same thing, but both of these need to be completed. Okay. In RaiderLink, these are things that a student can do. They can view their statements, current activity, make a payment, enroll in a payment plan, and this is where they can add you parents as an authorized user. None of these things are complicated, but there's how-to information on our website. So please look at our website for those kind of things that you might need. As far as how to pay your Texas Tech tuition and fee bill. These are ways that you can pay. Can be done online. It can be done in our office. If you're an international student parent, these are ways that those tuition bills can be paid. And then I know some of you probably have 529 plans that you might want to, that you're going to use to make the tuition payment. And these checks need to be mailed in to us from your institution, and be sure that they have the student's name and our number on them so that we can post those payments to the correct account. And of course, you probably already know, but we always remind people, don't mail cash and don't put credit card information in the mail. So we've talked about how important it is to set up someone to pay the bill and paying the bill, but what is the bill? You don't know yet. So we don't actually have bills available for students to see for fall until middle to end of July. So if you want to know what their tuition is going to be, go to our website, click on the tuition estimator, and you can come up with a very accurate amount based on what their college is, the hours they're going to take, and so forth. If you know, of course, you should know about their residence hall, their meal plan. You can add those things together and you'll have a pretty good idea of what that fall amount will be. Okay. And if there's not enough financial aid to cover everything, or if you just want to divide the cost up and you're going to cover all of it, we have payment plans available. There's 2 payment plans. The first one that's listed here divides everything on the account into 4 payments. And so when you set the payment plan up, it's a $25 charge and you make the first installment. So there'll be 3 more installments during the term. The emergency payment plan is the plan best if you're waiting for financial aid or some other kind of benefit to come in to pay towards the bill. That payment plan is not available until 10 days prior to the first day of class, and the bill will be divided up into 3 installments. It only covers tuition and mandatory fees, so you'll have to realize that any housing or other charges will have to be taken care of by the end of the term. And if I didn't mention, there's also a $25 setup fee for that one as well. Okay. You may have someone else who's planning to make payments, a third-party sponsor on your student's account. This would be military benefits, Texas Workforce, a prepaid plan like TGTP or Texas Promise, an international or domestic sponsor. So if anything like that is going to take place with your student's account, be sure that they check with SBS about any other paperwork that needs to be turned in. If it's military benefits that they're going to use, they'll initiate that through the Military and Veteran Programs Office. And Sarah's going to tell you more about that in just a moment. Your student may also have an exemption or waiver that they're going to utilize, like foster care or valedictorian waiver. And so any documentation that will allow us to provide those on your student's account needs to be turned in to us as well. And it can be emailed or it can be turned in when you come to RRO. We also provide Oklahoma and New Mexico students with a waiver that they can apply for the last full week of July. And so that's going to save them some money. We like to be good to our neighbors. Next. Another thing I want to mention is the tuition insurance that we provide. We don't want to think that anything could happen to our students, but occasionally a student becomes ill or is in an accident, something happens so that they have to have a medical withdrawal from the semester. And if that occurs, GradGuard's tuition insurance comes in very handy to help cover the cost. So the enrollment dates for that policy is going to be July 19th through September 9th. The cost is about $125 a semester for $10,000 worth of coverage. So it's a pretty good deal that I would urge all you parents to consider. These are just some last final reminders. At Texas Tech, tuition and fee is due 3 days prior to the first day of class. If your student starts getting any kind of pending cancellation notification, urge them not to ignore it. We do cancel if either a payment plan is not in place, financial aid to cover, or the tuition paid for. So we don't want to cancel anybody, but it's one of the things that has to happen for us to stay legal as far as tuition is concerned. So be sure and check the email. We don't ever cancel anyone without them knowing, or they should be able to know, because we make lots of phone calls, we send lots of emails. So again, students need to check their email regularly. These are our contact information. We also are available as Brooks mentioned, in a 4-hour block during RRO. So please, if you haven't attended RRO yet, you can see us in our office in West Hall, but certainly we're set up to see you during RRO in the ballroom of the sub. Thank you so much, and we look forward to your students being at Texas Tech.
Hello. The Military and Veterans Program Office is also referred to as MVP. We are part of Student Life and strive to make college life a little easier for our military and military-dependent students. Feel free to save our contact information listed for face-to-face assistance. We're located on the 2nd floor of West Hall, Suite 242. Today's talking points are as followed. Please note that MVP does abide by the Financial Education Rights and Privacy Act, also known as FERPA. If your student does not add you on FERPA, we are limited to general information to share with you. We will go over federal benefits such as Chapter 33 and Chapter 35, as well as state benefits such as Hazelwood. We will touch on military payment plans, which are serviced by Student Business Services. The military payment plan allows an extension of the bill due date, as benefits can take up to 30 days to process. You will also receive information as to what your student benefits will and will not cover. Texas Tech is a proud yellow ribbon school. In order to use federal benefits, a certificate of eligibility, also known as a COE, is required. You'll want to acquire this or apply for your COE before classes start. Federal benefits include Chapter 33 post 9/11 transfer educational benefits. Chapter 33 will pay for tuition and fees. It provides a monthly housing stipend as well as a book stipend. Chapter 35 dependent educational assistance, also known as DEA, is another federal benefit. This benefit only provides a monthly housing stipend, which is sent to the VA designated student bank account. Below you will find 2 grids. The first grid shows the difference between Chapter 33 and Chapter 35 coverage based on hours from quarter time up to full time. The second grid shows the amount of certified required hours by term and student level, such as undergraduate, and graduate. Please keep this basic timeline in mind. Each term, when it's time for your student to register for classes, they need to register for classes, then submit their forms to the MVP Forms portal, and finally submit any required forms to Student Business Services. Some important dates to remember. Early registration. This is determined by your student's classification and/or cohort. Military students will have the military cohort, which allows for earlier registration. Federal benefits pay dates are after the end of each month. We ask that you please submit Chapter 33 forms at least 180 days prior to classes starting, and Chapter 35 up to 30 days prior to classes starting. As always, if there are delays, get in a military payment plan. Chapter 33 will pay book stipend monthly if the process was timely. Please note, we service over 1,500 applications each term, and we work them in the order they are received. So the sooner you get those in, the better. Housing stipends will be paid after the student verifies enrollment with the VA at the end of each month. The census date is the last day to drop classes without financial penalty. Tuition and fees are invoiced to the VA for Chapter 33 students at that time. For additional useful dates, please refer to the academic calendar that is updated annually. Some additional information to be aware of. Students should always submit mandatory forms required by Student Business Services to them directly, each term. Again, if there are any kind of delays in benefits, you have the option of the military payment plan. This plan will delay standard billing dates up to 2 months for fall and spring and allow a 1-month extension for summer terms. This plan will take total charges and break them into the extended dates once documentation is received by Student Business Services. Please take advantage of the payment plan as it allows for additional time for the VA, Student Business Services, and MVP to apply your benefits. Third-party agreements are required for Chapter 33 only. This is an official notification to Student Business Services to expect payment directly from the VA. SBS will apply placeholder amounts while they await payment from the VA. Failure to submit these forms will result in billing issues, such as late fees and delinquent e-bill notifications. This will also cause holds that prevent students from registering for future terms. State benefits are also known as Hazelwood. Each term, your student will want to register for classes, submit MVP forms on our portal, and then submit their military payment plan to Student Business Services. Hazelwood covers mandatory tuition and fees. This does not include the student service fee of $142, housing, hospitality, or parking. If you have questions on any other fees, feel free to let us know. Additional information can be found on the MVP site listed here, as well as on the Texas Veteran Commission website, also known as TVC. TVC will have additional information on child legacy eligibility, spouse dependent eligibility, and frequently asked questions that they receive. Next slide. Here's an example of a DD 214. This form requires that home of record or place of entry be Texas. You must have more than 181 active duty days, not including training, and a character service must list honorable or general. Military waivers are offered. These forms can be found on the Student Business Services website. These waivers include certification of military personnel and dependents who enroll at Texas Tech, as well as the veteran dependent military intent to establish residencies. Waivers can be found on the Student Business Services site. We do ask that you report the following changes on the MVP change request form via the MVP forms portal: address changes, incomplete or missing grades, add drop classes, withdraw from the university, major or minor changes. How can these changes affect your student? Changes could affect when or if your benefits are applied. Changes can even leave you with an outstanding bill. Should you have any questions or concerns, we're here to help, so don't hesitate to reach out to us. MVP can be reached at 806-742-6877 or by email at mvp@ttu.edu. Thank you.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of our presenters for sharing this incredibly important information with our families. So at this time, we are just about out of time, but please do continue to type your questions into the Q&A feature. We will stay behind the scenes and get those answered for you. And since we do have 1 minute, I was going to pick on Connie just for a second. One of the things you touched on was the 1098T. Connie, can you tell us about, and families ask about that all the time, obviously. Can you tell us about, when to expect those and how that works?
I knew somebody would ask me a hard question. So the 1098T will be available, I believe it's in January. Sarah, you may have to type some answers
It's
in here.
until the last day of January, they have to get that out.
Okay, last day of January. So it's a document that you'll need when you file your income tax. And, this just shows you that I haven't worked in SBS very long to give you all the details about 1098T. Sarah Woody, type something.
The 1098T you'll want to take to your tax provider to see if there's any credits or anything that may apply to you or your student, especially if you claim them as a dependent.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought. Sarah just also mentioned something in the chat about it, I think. No, that's about the bill. Anyway, if you have any other questions, my email is connie.brown@ttu.edu. If you'll just send your questions directly to me, I'll give you some way better answers.
Thank you for letting me put you on the spot there, Connie. And then I do see that Sarah put a link in the chat that will tell you more about the 1098T. And the reason I brought
Okay.
it up is, again, we get a lot of questions or we get a lot of calls from families. Well, my student hasn't received this yet, and what do I do? And so one of the things Connie was talking about is the global consent to receive
Right.
information electronically. And so if your student does that, then that means that 1098T is going to be put on their Raider link for them to download when it's ready. If they don't do it, it's going to be mailed to their permanent address, and that could take longer. So encourage them to do that. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Once again, we will be sharing this presentation, the video on our website. We would love for you to take our really quick survey on how we did today. And you can also see contact information for everyone who spoke today. So please do feel free to reach out to Student Financial Aid and Scholarships or Military Veterans Program, or to us here in Parent and Family Relations, should you have any questions. And again, if you haven't attended Red Raider orientation yet, you will definitely have that opportunity on day 2 of your students' orientation session to visit with these folks in person and continue to ask those questions. All right, so I'm going to stop our recording, but we will stay back for a little bit and continue to answer your questions using the Q&A feature. Thank you very much and have a wonderful rest of your day.